Peace be upon you all. We'll give you a quick rundown of what I've been working on here with the permaculture design system that I'm calling the Ogden Land Operating System. Here we've broken it down into 3 distinct stages. First one is understanding what the land actually is before designing it, and once you do that, we can get into the plan phase or stage as it's named, and then the final 3rd stage. But again, this really occurs in a sort of cycle where you're not stopping the observation stage. Once you've implemented things, you continuously monitor conditions and improve the design and implement them. To go into a bit more detail as to what each stage entails, here we got 6 modules. First one being the context for human beings, and using myself as an example. And then you get into the land itself, like macroclimates and hazards, topography, earth, water, and ecology, microclimates and zones, and then the SWOT synthesis, which is an organization of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now you can break it down into even more detail because each of these modules have sub-modules. For example, no, that's not me. I don't have hair on my head, at least, on top of it. Right. Get into the survey, regional context, vision detail. Again, even more detail. I'm 30, not 34. Again, more and more details. Right? Outline the vision. I've done that before. I can show you as perhaps in a different video, but the main focus on what I'm showing you here is the user interface that I've gotten the concept generated for. So yeah, a lot of details, so that whenever boots hit the ground and shovels, and before the shovels hit the dirt, we know that we're making a very well-informed decision. Right? Again, you can get into as much detail as you want. And once you've collected all that information, then you can get into the design aspect of things. The water management is one of my favorite aspects of this. It takes into consideration the topography, low points, rainwater collection based on rooftop surface area and materials. Again, you can budget as well, compare it with your consumption. It's not showing in this part here. Was it this one here? No. Storage placement, okay. 3rd one. Here we are. Not visible yet, which is strange. I'll make a note of that. Again, livestock choreography, different paddocks and whatnot. Paths, so where you're walking. Right? Designing every single aspect of this operation. And just to give you a scope, like why am I going into such great detail to develop this sort of plan and go through all these steps, is so that I can develop an intentional Muslim community that does not rely on like hopes and dreams. It is an actual feasible plan based on a significant amount of due diligence, and inshallah will not require donations in order to sustain itself. It will offer things that are useful to not just the guests that arrive on site, but also to the broader community, whether it be through hosting experiences or through the production of food, offering specialized programming around like gardening, perhaps even farming, or private consultations with land design, and perhaps someone wants a homestead, we can consult them on that based on our experience with developing a whole village, understanding what their constraints are and what they want to accomplish, and other elements of permaculture all drawn in. Again, these are just concept drawings. I'm currently working on bringing it to life. So we have different or like rough variants of it now. Got wind sectors as well. Like this is a very like rough version of what we were just looking at here. The back, okay, well this is way better here. However, this is the one that actually contains the live information and the data that is useful in coming up with a decision. So when you input like a property and you draw its boundary, you can see here basically some information about it. But again, like if you look at the sidebar, this is not feasible to go through, even though yes, it is labeled and you can see the different categories. It is nowhere near as presentable as something like this or like this, right? So for example, like this planting tool here, where's the plant list? Yeah, here we are. So the plant database shows up like this. This is nice to see. Whereas the current, this is not going to be the best example to compare because this is also not too bad. No, we can see the overall agricultural suitability, and then the plants, right? So if we were just looking at, what was it, cover crops? Okay, it's just showing all the plants. Here. So if we're looking at all, we can just show the top 100. Scroll down and say we pick time. See why it has a score. Say, okay, well, they have the right temperature for it. Rainfall is sufficient without irrigation. In terms of its needs for water. Growing season also. And you go down. But let's say we are looking at vegetables. There are some that aren't so good for this climate according to the global database, not local ones. Because I know that I know a lot of people that grow garlic here in southern Ontario. So this in particular is not truly valid because we have varieties here that do really well. So this could actually be scored as 100 if we updated the database to be something that is more local. This one, yeah. they're saying that beefsteak plants require, is this tomato? Perilla frutensis. Limited by precipitation. Okay. So yeah, all these details organized on a list, and so I just want to make it more pretty and enjoyable to use as an experience. Guild builder. So now you have, let's say, this particular type of tree, and then you have the companion plants to go under it and in different parts, right? Whether you have it in the sub canopy or the understory. Oh, I like this one a lot too. The waste to resource vector, so that no matter what is occurring on the land, whatever the outputs or what would normally be considered waste is an actual input into another system, so that when you close the loop, we're no longer worrying or dependent on external systems or inputs beyond what is on the land after implementation, of course, because there are some things that cannot be done on the land feasibly, like for example, like a biogas digester. That's not entirely true. That you could go through a lot of, it's not so much a lot of effort. It can be like you can. It's a matter of choosing what, or I guess in the observation stage you decide basically, or you determine like how many people are going to be involved and what they're willing to contribute to bringing this to life. And perhaps there's someone that is willing to invest the time and energy to develop like a handmade version of a biogas digester that even then I wouldn't deem wise to do, especially with the technologies that we have access to. It'd be a lot safer to use more modern techniques to put it together, like underground and perhaps like concrete. Would it be concrete? Something underground, concrete, and then a metal like lid. To keep the pressure. Yeah. Lots of different variables to consider. Solar paths and times depending on the times of the year. Phasing and budgeting. This one's, I think we have a good version of this too. No. This is presentation mode. The one that we have comparable now is here in economics. Like, I'm content with this sort of presentation. I actually kind of like it more than, okay, maybe not this part here. Yeah, this is a nice way to present information, minus this. Again, right, like it gives you a structure on what is actually needed based on the goals that you have, what kind of land, or like what you're trying to do with the land, whether it's a regenerative farm, homestead, intentional community. And so there are templates in place that guide you through the whole process. But again, it's laid out currently in a way that is not really all that engaging. Scenarios. Right? Like, so many different ways of presenting information. All of this is, I mean, it's not bad, but it can be better. Right? For example, there was another, see, this was for the Moontrans Collective. On that land, it tells you how many hours that you need per year based on the current design, which is not actually accurate. Actually, we don't need to look at that now. And just exploring different ways of presenting information. And again, like it's not all that appealing right now. Right, like this is all just words. And I'm more of a visual person here. So that's why before actually using it, I want to optimize it to a point where you got it looking like this. Okay, not where'd it go? See, waste routing checklist. Quickly navigate through things so you're not just a robot reading words. You can actually look at pictures, harvest calendars. Like, look at this. Lovely. You got analytics. Disaster preparedness, and this is in the implementation stage. So yeah, fair bit of work done, and a little bit more to go. And that's where we are for now. Until next time, peace.